Well, Kiddas Valley Sports Talk fans, I'm Eric Sorensen with John Gouda. We have the intro to the intro of this podcast, our rodeo episode. We're going to get to doing this once a month. We have big news. We got a sponsor for the rodeo episode.
Another
sponsor. Where our main show is Fitterers Furniture. We got and it's a guy it's a local run company of a guy that's a good friend of mine. He's on the rodeo board, Kerry Clift. The McGregor Company is the new sponsor of our PRCA rodeo segment we're doing once a month. And what fitting way to start that with the big boom right off the bat with the biggest rodeo of the year.
Biggest rodeo of the year. A great local sponsor with guys with rodeo board ties.
Right.
Obviously, you talk about Kerry Clift. I mean, and he doesn't know it yet, but Kerry, you're going to be a guest on the show already. We need that personality and knowledge, and we're going to pester you with questions about rodeo. But I want to say thanks to Kerry and the McGregor Company as well.
We're recording this on Wednesday. He will be back from Vegas on Friday, and we will be getting him in here as soon as I can. I don't care how rough Vegas was on you.
Exactly.
But McGregor, a local company, we use them on our farm, and it's always they're based out of Colfax, but they're doing lots of cool things and researching and stuff, and we were really fortunate to have them sponsor us, and a big thank you. And I guess the first intro is over. Let's get to the other intro to the episode about the PRCA Rodeo NFR. Well, hello, Tyson Valley Sports Talk fans. I'm Eric Sorensen, joined here by John Gouda, the Daily Record rodeo reporter. John, we've had a few interviews we've done so far. It's NFR time, Vegas. We're recording here at Big Country Studios, but I think we all know our hearts down in Vegas right now.
I was in Vegas for Thanksgiving week because I couldn't make it to NFR this week, and I'm still not over that. And as we were leaving our hotel to get to the airport, of course, our taxi driver drove right by the Thomas and Mack, and it's already, this was on Saturday, last Saturday, it was already decked out for the, with the big welcome to the NFR banner. You could see that the carnival sort like atmosphere that they have outside the Thomas and Mack the structures were being built. And so I agree. My heart, my heart is in my family's hands, right, and my family's hands are in Las Vegas. There you go. So it is a incredible time. So today, we're filming this, or we're recording this on a Wednesday.
We're doing both.
What's that?
We're doing both. We're filming and recording.
We're filming. We're recording. We are very much here in the studios on a Wednesday. And so literally 24 hours from now, we're going to be watching NFR. We wish we were there. We're going to be watching NFR on TV, though.
Absolutely. I've been to the NFR twice in my 31 years. Yeah, I believe twice. You've probably been.
I've been there, we'll just say a couple of times. Yep. And you say in your 31 years, let's not put an age to it. Let's not put a date here. So we're all 29 at heart.
That's right.
That brings up a question. I mean, NFR, it's one of those things where you just got to do it at least once.
Oh, I think so. I think it's I always appreciate it because growing up, we never had satellite TV. And so my sisters in college would record an episode for at least one go-around for me, and I'd get it for Christmas. And Christmas Day, I'd get to throw it on and watch it. And then Mom and Dad got cable after I left to college, which thanks Mom and Dad.
Interesting.
I think they made sure I wanted to be
I'm sure you can get
productive outside
with therapy or something like that.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
But no, when I finally went, I was dating my now wife, and we went back with her family, and it was awesome. It was fun. And that trip, I didn't actually get to go to a rodeo, but oh my God, the shopping, the Christmas, Cowboy Christmas. I guess it was fun for me to go walk through that. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the bars that were around each Cowboy Christmas while my wife went crazy with my mother-in-law shopping and spent quite a bit of money there. But it's actually really cool stuff, and that's part of the fun ambience of the.
So I don't want to say that I hate shopping, but it's not top 10 on my list of things to do. But Cowboy Christmas, I was in awe the first time there. I mean, I had no idea. I thought it was a couple of vendors, a couple of booths, I was just I was overwhelmed, and it continues to develop. So it's been a few years since I've actually been to the NFR, and so I can only imagine what it's like now. But just things like watching guys steam and shape hats. To me, I could just watch that all day.
Well, if you're watching on the stream, there's a cowboy hat sitting right here in front of us. I have a very large head. I like to think it's all my brains, but I couldn't find a size 8 cowboy hat I couldn't special order it, but I went around to every cowboy hat booth in the Crowd Bear Christmas. I found, I believe that one, my felt hat.
They were prepared for it.
They had to. It was awesome, and it was a great time. And like the guys are going to talk about here with the 3 guests that we have for that called in. They were down in Vegas. You can walk through that. There's the pro guys. I mean, how many pro sports are the guys just throughout the day sitting around doing autograph signing? Those guys are always busy doing something.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it here. Mm-hmm. Should we talk about who we're interviewing?
Let's break the news. I kind of big as Facebook the other day.
So we got a mix of some of the 3 of the biggest names in my opinion in pro rodeo. One of them with obviously a local tie. So Riley Minor,
right,
10-time NFR qualifier with his brother Brady, who's been there 11 times. Mm-hmm. And so we chatted with him for about 10-15 minutes. Of course, Sage Kimzey, 5-time defending world champion bull rider, spent a few minutes with us, and then as did Tyson Durfey, who was a multiple NFR qualifier, 2016 world champion there for tie down. I always want to call it calf roping, but
right.
So
I still call it calf roping.
Yeah, it is calf roping. So really exciting to talk to them. I'm always blown away by these are the biggest names in pro rodeo, but they still talk to us like we're their neighbor or a fellow roper,
right?
And so that's really cool, the accessibility that we have with rodeo athletes. Hopefully that never goes away, and they keep on answering my texts and phone calls, so it hasn't gone away yet.
It was pretty cool. We went a little fangirl. I know I did a little bit there.
What's that?
I went a little fangirl, and a couple of them called, and it was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
I actually played community schools basketball with Riley when I was little, but a long time ago. Let's talk about the actual performance. I mean, it is a lot of fun. If you guys haven't gone to the actual NFR and you've watched it on TV, and what you don't realize, I know my sister and her husband go every year, and they would always text us, and they'd be on back at the hotel, and they were just on bull riding. I'm like, well, it's delayed, but you don't realize how fast that thing rolls through, because it's basically you get bucked off, get out of the arena, the next guy in.
Yeah.
And it's so small, and it's very compact, and the calf roping and team roping, it's so much faster, because pretty soon you're at the end of the arena. And it's definitely not anything near Ellensburg size.
That arena and the NFR event is built for TV. Mm-hmm. When you go to like an Ellensburg or traditional rodeos like an Ellensburg or a Pendleton or a Cheyenne, those take 3 to 4 hours. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say there's dead time, but there's lots of lulls and stuff like that, and things to distract you from, as the next event gets ready. Not at the NFR. I mean, there is absolutely no dead time. The only time that I've seen there being a little bit of a blip or a stop in action is when there's a significantly serious injury. Other than that, man, it is boom, 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 boom.
Quick.
So if you're more...
It's fun.
It's a fun one. If you're more of a traditionalist, then you might be thinking, whoa, this is overwhelming, but you still got to do it. And even if you are a traditionalist and you don't like those fast rodeos, you're still seeing the best ropers, riders in the entire world, really.
It's worth it. If you're a rodeo fan, you got to go at least once.
Got to go at least once. Yeah. But if you go, no, I was just going to say there's so many people. It's a hot ticket. It's been sold out since 1985 when it went to Las Vegas. And so there's a lot of people who go down to Vegas and they just go to the watch parties. Each hotel has a live feed into the hotel, and so I mean, just the camaraderie of watching rodeo with like-minded people. Or if you're taking a shuttle from each hotel has a shuttle that goes to the Thomas and Mack, you're all like best friends in a bus full of strangers. So you could be sitting next to somebody from Kansas,
right?
And you're just so jacked up and happy to be there.
Absolutely. I do got to bring up, I know we've already done all the interviews the last couple of days because when we had to go when the Cowboys had time because they were in Vegas. My wife was she got home last night and I said, you won't guess who we interviewed today. And she kind of went, are you serious? I said, Tyson Durfey. That's her celebrity crush.
And we're putting that out on the podcast.
We're putting it on the podcast because we got done talking and she says, Gudak gave a shout out to his daughters being fans of him. Why didn't you say about me? I was like, I didn't really want to tell the guy my wife likes you. So, but no. And then she's actually, I think we'll get some listeners from her side of the family that the Nibo, her original, her maiden name, and her dad rodeos and is a calf roper. And he'll actually be down at South Point at the World Series roping. He qualified for that. And so I had to give the shout out for Paige because she was, giving me a little grief last night.
Yeah.
Had to get it out.
I understand that. She'll get over that if Tyson wins the world championship.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Or maybe we just have to call him again, and maybe Paige does the interview.
I think so. I think we got I'm really hoping come Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got the ball rolling a little bit. We're going to do a live show at the rodeo.
We were talking about that, and I'm kind of upset that it's going to take 9 months to make that happen.
That's just that much more better planning, but it'll be fun though. We get a live crowd there. Try to have the Cowboys on stage with us and talk. And
that's right.
And I think that's something we're trying to do in football next fall too. But back to rodeo. I guess let's get into the interviews. What do you think?
Well, before we get into the interviews, do you have any? Do you have a must-see event? Do you have a cowboy or a barrel racer? Do you think this is going to be their year?
Well, I traditionally always watch the calf roping and team roping. I get a kick out of the steer wrestling because I don't know if Knowles made it this year, but it has Dad being the play-by-play, I guess you call it. I always make sure we pay attention when the minor brothers are going.
Yep.
The calf roping, I think a guy that we tried to get on and he was just busy, and I don't blame him. A guy that I kind of watch because he's an LSU fan is Shane Hanchey. He's fun to watch. We always used to, you'd watch Trevor Brazil, but he's slowed down now. He's not there. But Tyson Durfey is always a fun one to watch. And I guess going back historically, I'd always name Joe Beaver. He was one that I always kind of watched. And Fred Whitfield and the old
Joe Beaver, Fred Whitfield,
Cody
Old.
Yep.
Man, those the trifecta of just
fun.
Dominant ropers.
Yeah.
Just dominant. Multiple world championships for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think I want to guess, it's a rough guess, but between the four of them, I think they have like 22, 23 world titles. I mean, that's insane.
It's
or between the three of them, pardon me.
Yeah.
And for me, there's so much money to be won. Go round checks. The go round winners win $27,000 a night. Pay six deep. The average winner will get $67,000 after 10. I mean, so whether you're first or 15th, it is seriously wide open.
Right.
And so I just never know who's going to win it. And bareback, Tim O'Connell, who's a 3-time world champion. Casey Field is a 4-time world champion. Those guys right there, I think they've won 7 out of the last 8 world titles with Stephen Peoples in between them. The bulldog and the steer wrestling, that's the hardest one for me to figure out. And you got so much talent there, and those guys, that might be the most. People would probably disagree with me, but it seems like the Bulldoggers are the most tight knit group, and just really, really fun to watch. Caleb and Junior and
Junior Nagawa, I thoroughly enjoy watching. That guy can throw a loop.
He's fun. He's a fun interview as well, and they've won second. They've been the reserve world champions 3 years in a row.
Wow,
is it their year? I mean, who knows? The bronc riding. You got the Crowley brothers, you got the Wright brothers, or the Wright family brothers and uncles, I guess it would be this year. I mean,
it's a big family.
What's that?
I thought it was funny last night at the number ceremony. I watched a little bit on TV.
Yep.
And there's a Wright brother in the bull riding this year, and they said something about the Wrights are starting to invade bull riding.
Yeah, Stetson Wright. That's right. And Stetson, bull rider and bronc rider. He didn't make it in the bronc riding, but shoot, he's on top of the all around standings right now. And my pick is between him and Stetson Wright and maybe Clay Smith would be the or Tough Cooper, Stetson Wright, and maybe Clay Smith would be the three guys who have there's more guys who have a shot, but those kind of the three guys on top. And barrel racing, Haley Kinzel, Nellie Miller there on top. Amber Lee Moore always seems to literally double her season earnings.
Right. It's a good spot to do that.
What's that?
That's a great spot to do that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just there's just so much money to be won, and we talk about Fred Whitfield, Joe Beaver, and Cody Ohl. I think now you got Caleb Schmidt who's leading the calf roping. You got Tyson Durfey, Shane Hanchey, Tough Cooper, all there. I think those guys are the top 4 guys. I don't have the standings in front of me, and then bull riding, Sage Kimzey gets all the attention, and he should. He's
right.
5-time world champion.
Well, what did you say? It was 60-something%.
61% ride percentage,
and he was higher than that before he separated his ribs.
Yeah, and we talk about that here in our interview, which maybe that's the time to lead into the interviews. But exciting time. NFR is 10 days long. Starts on Thursday the 5th, runs through Saturday the 14th, and just tons of money, literally tons of money paid out every night.
I do have one more things I enjoy watching. I believe it was Marty Yates. He was the young guy the last couple of years in the calf. I do enjoy watching the new young guys. It looked like last night there was a lot of new calf ropers, young guys. They're talking about them college national final rodeo qualifiers like this year.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun to watch. 'Cause I think it was Marty Yates' mom that he'd run and they'd pan to her in the crowd and she'd be just going crazy. And it was awesome. It was it shows the family atmosphere of rodeo and just how much fun it is.
It's people call it the Super Bowl of rodeo. To be honest with you, the NFR to me is just bigger than the Super Bowl. It's just that's our thing is rodeo, and if we can't be there in person, we're glued to the TV.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, let's lead into our first interview. We got to apologize. These guys are busy. They're in the casinos. They were I believe Riley was getting checked into his room. He was on his way to go watch the Seahawks game Monday night, which they won.
Right. That's when we did it.
And there's the phone interview. It doesn't always come through right. And then there's a couple times that you'll have to bear with us. But what a fun interview. It was great. And let's get into the interview here with Riley Minor.
Sounds good. So we're back now with Riley Minor, the header side of the Minor Brothers Heading and Healing NFR combo. Riley, you said you just drove into to Vegas. You're starting to get checked in, and you got the horses in pens. What's Monday before the NFR usually like for you guys?
Oh, just trying to get everything packed up and headed to the room right now. It's pretty exciting rolling into town. You kind of forget that feeling. It's a full year since I've been here, so it's pretty exciting.
What this is your guys' 10th time together, and so you say, or 10th time coming to the NFR, I believe, and so you say you kind of forget it, but is it? Obviously you know Vegas really well, you know the hotels and the schedule really well. Does much change year after year?
Oh, the first couple times you're probably, you're young and pretty green and a little bit more scared. Now it's just kind of, hate to say it's a routine, but I would like to make it a routine every year to be here. But now I'm just kind of relaxing and waiting to, tomorrow we got to rope the steers, so that's good to kind of get to practice. And then tomorrow night we'll get our back number and our jacket and all that. So that's kind of fun and kind of gets the week kicked off.
So tell me, I want to talk about the back number ceremony and everything like that, but tell me about the steers. Maybe you'll be able to better answer this on Tuesday when you run them, but do you have an idea of what they're going to be in terms of big cattle, big horns, or anything different this year than the last couple of years?
Well, they're actually a little bit smaller than they have been. They still have some pretty big horns on them, but I just went and looked at them because it's kind of what you want to do when you're gonna go head to head against them is go check them out. So I looked at them about a half hour ago, and they're a lot smaller than in the past. Not way smaller, but I bet the times will be a little bit faster this year if I had to bet. But, they look good. I like them. It should be good.
So, and that's tomorrow's practice, and then a little bit of downtime before you have to dress up for the back number presentation. Does that ever get old? I've never been there. I've been to NFR a few times myself, but never been to the back number presentation. So, is that another just exciting time to, get everybody all in the room and all like-minded people and pal around with a bunch of friends and everything?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Everybody's so happy and excited to be here, and that's what gets it all kicked off. And everybody's in a good mood there, and a few days later they might not be in as good a mood.
So that's a good point. Tell me about, you guys have had great NFRs, and then you guys have had, not so great or okay NFRs. How do you keep even after doing this for so long, how do you keep your emotions in check?
Well, I was telling someone the other day, I was watching, we've been jackpotting in Arizona, and a lot of the top guys have been there roping. And I was watching the other day, and I wasn't doing so good in the rope, and then I ended up winning fourth, but kind of by fault. Everybody else messed up, and I had a barrier on one. I said, it just makes me feel good knowing that the best guys in the world miss. Like nobody's perfect, and team roping, it's just like any other sport. It's so mental, and you just can't let the lows get you down. You just got to try to stay in the middle. Don't get too high. Just kind of got to roll with the punches. Yeah, we've had great finals. We've had terrible finals. So let's just pray we have a good mediocre to real good is what I'm looking for.
Well, Riley, we all watch on TV every day, and just tell us, what is it like? It looks like a pretty cool experience. Being able to rope in Thomas and Mack Center. What's it like roping in that during the NFR, and how cool of an experience is that?
Oh man, I mean it's the only reason I rodeo all year long. I mean, we're back in that box and there's 17,000 fans watching, and it's loud and crazy. I mean it's the Super Bowl of rodeo, and just lucky to get to compete here.
Do you you talk about jackpots and being in Arizona and everything like that? I've heard that ropers will set up their own arena to be the same dimensions as the NFR. Do you guys do that, or if not, is there a reason why you don't?
In the past we have, but not every year we do that. But like the only reason I like to put it up is if I'm riding a horse that's never been there, so he knows where that fence is at. But I've rode Bob so many times that I don't even want to put him in that setup, because sometimes the horses will get kind of smart to it, and they might want to get a little bit quick and go left too early. So we don't even put it up. I mean, a lot of guys do, some don't, but it's kind of like tomorrow we'll get the feel. But I mean, you can try to put the barrier up at home, and have the arena the same dimensions, and there's nothing like coming to the Thomas and Mack.
Definitely. What? Tell me about your horsepower, you and Brady, since I'll have you speak on both of your behalf. What are you bringing multiple horses in there, hoping to only use one, or is that remain to be seen?
No, I just brought Bob, and he brought Shug. We're just praying they stay healthy. Bob was actually had an abscess about a week ago, and he was pretty lame, and I was pretty nervous, but he seems good now, and he's one of the really good players. So Brady, he doesn't really have his backup horses hurt right now, so all of our eggs are in one basket. We got a lot of good friends, a lot of good horses, though. So something doesn't work. That's the backup plan.
Right. So you're breaking up on me a little bit, Riley. So I got a couple more questions for you. One is, we're all focused on the rodeo, which is 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock pretty much every night. But your guys' day is so long with sponsor commitments, and obviously you got a family with you and everything. So is there ever any downtime, and are you doing a sponsor commitment pretty much every day, either in terms of autographs or some sort of meet and greet?
Oh yeah, I gotta sign autographs at least probably twice a day. Not every single day, but a lot. Yeah, it's usually an hour and a half each time, and yeah, it's a little bit old. It's nice to meet all the people and talk to everybody, but yeah, definitely middle of the week to the end of the week. I try to schedule my stuff early on in the week, so that way, I'm pretty worn down about halfway through. So
right.
The start of the week, I try to do all that stuff.
Is there we were talking a little bit kind of generically about just what kind of week you want to have. Is there Is there like a money goal that you guys have, or can you kind of predict what it's going to take to maybe win the world this year?
Man, it's just hard to say. I'm quite a ways behind the header. Brady's not that far away from the header, but everybody ropes so good, and obviously the goal is to try to win the world, but come in here and try to rope solid and win as much money as you can, and at the end of the day, you got to have a little luck involved to win it all. So just try to stick to my game plan, rope one steer at a time, and see what happens.
Well, Riley, I appreciate it. I know you got family stuff to do, maybe some dinner to eat, and we're recording this on.
Gotta watch these Seahawks.
That's right. We're recording this on Monday Night Football night. So anyway, Riley, we'll keep in touch. I appreciate you taking the time here with me and Eric, and no matter what, get some rest in the middle of all the craziness, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Riley.
Okay, well, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Talk to you soon.
Well, that was a fun. I think every local guy enjoyed that interview with Riley Minor, the local team roper. John, who do we got next? I believe he's got a few world titles under his belt.
We've got probably one of the most recognizable names in pro rodeo right now, and that is Mr. Sage Kimzey. Mm-hmm. 5-time world champion, 5 straight NFRs, 5 straight world titles. Pretty much similar to the success that we have in our own lives.
Absolutely.
Country. Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Sage Kimzey he's just an incredible bull rider, and he's, no disrespect to Trevor Brazil or Tuff Cooper or Casey Field or Tim O'Connell, but if he's not the face of pro rodeo right now, he's one of the top faces of pro rodeo, and he'll cross $2 million in earnings here pretty soon. Wow. He's got his 6th NFR, that starts for him tomorrow on Thursday, and he's going for his 6th straight world title. And this year he's got his brother with us or with him in the NFR, and so that's really cool that 2 Kimzeys made it.
That's pretty awesome. Well, here's Sage Kimzey, bull riding world champion.
Well, welcome back, Kittitas Valley Sports Talk fans. John Goodat, Eric Country Sorensen back with you. We got Sage Kimzey on the phone right now. He's calling us from NFR. Sage, thanks for taking some time. You're in Vegas. Is that a home away from home for you right now?
It definitely is. We're here at the MGM Grand and just ready for the NFR to start.
So tell me about that. MGM, they host you, and from what I've seen in pictures and some social media posts in the past, they really, really take care of their guys. And so, but they're one of your sponsors, and that brings up a sponsorship obligation kind of thing. I mean, you're busy. We're so focused on the rodeo, but man, it seems like Vegas is a 24/7 thing with meet and greets and autographs and sponsor obligations. Is it pretty much all day, every day, the 2 weeks you're down there?
Yeah, it definitely is for sure. It's the most fun time of the year, but it's definitely the most hectic time of the year for us too. I mean, we get up early every morning and meet and greet, signings, all kinds of stuff, and then usually we have time for a little short nap and then head to the performance.
So I gotta imagine you you got your things that you do every day before you ride in terms of mental preparation, or you say take a short nap, and then obviously getting taped up and just ready. How much do you have to adapt that when you're in Vegas getting ready for the NFR with so many other distractions?
I'd say the distractions are just different than what they usually are going to every rodeo throughout the season. Excuse me. Because, I mean, usually, instead of doing meet and greets and autograph signings, we're driving 6 to 8 hours to get to the next rodeo. So I'd say it's a lot the same, but there are differences for sure, just because there's a lot more going on out here than there is from time to time at the rodeos we generally go to. So it's a little bit different, but a little bit of a balancing act, but it's not too bad.
Are there still like aha moments or surprises? I mean, obviously this is, correct me if I'm wrong, 6th straight year there in Vegas. And so are there a lot of things that you can anticipate this year that you didn't, 3 to 5 years ago? Or do you still find yourself surprised with, an obligation or a change in schedule every year?
I mean, there's a few little hiccups every year, but experience is worth its weight in gold, for sure. So there's a lot of things that I've learned, throughout these past 5-6 years that have really helped me. And there's always some curveballs that come, but with experience, I think those curveballs are easier to hit. So yeah, I mean, it's all good.
Say, just as Eric, I have my question for you is, it's a lot of fun going to the NFR and being in the stands watching on TV every night like we do. But how cool is it to compete in the NFR, to compete in the Thomas and Mack Center, like just during that rodeo? How big of a rush is that?
Yeah, as cliche as it is, I've said it countless times, and I'll say it until I retire. It really is a dream come true. I mean, this is what we've all worked our entire lives to get to the point where we can come enjoy this experience. And it's just great. It's hard to even put it into words. I mean, if you can think possibly of your biggest, wildest dreams coming to fruition, and it all being culminated in 10 days in Las Vegas, that's what the feeling is, for sure.
That's awesome.
We talk about it from a fan perspective, but do you get to be a fan of rodeo at Las Vegas? It's so quick, and there's such a lack of space behind the chutes or just in the arena. So do you get a chance to actually try to enjoy the rodeo, or maybe the bulldogging or the bronc riding before, that's not immediately before the bull riding? Do you get any chance to enjoy things?
Kind of. I'm really, really particular in how I prepare, so I don't get to go out and watch very many events, but we are fortunate in the fact that there's TVs in the locker room, and we get to watch it that way. So we don't get the full experience of that the fans get being right on top of the dirt, but we definitely get to enjoy the rodeo, and in the locker room, all the guys are sitting around there, and we get to talk about what's going on, and the good, bad, and indifference that happen each night. So it's fun.
So talk to me about I'm not sure if you have a specific bull that you want to get on, or a specific stock contractor that's brought in a good pen of bulls. Do you have one that you hope you draw this week, or a few that you hope you draw this week?
I'd say the glaring one would be 32Y Sweet Pros Bruiser. He's incredible. He's been in the running for Buck and Bull of the Year countless times. He's won it, and he's the one that everybody really wants to have. Big scores, and he's an awesome animal. You see him in the back pens. He's got probably the most personality of any bull here. He's dog gentle. He's just like a big pet back there. You can go love on him, scratch on him, and then as soon as he runs in the buck and shoot, he knows the game, and he's going to do everything he can to throw you off, for sure. But he'd definitely be the dream draw, for sure.
Well, in order to make sure you do that dream draw some respect, I mean, obviously you got to prepare well and everything like that. So I got to imagine, especially the first night, it's just so much adrenaline. How long does it take for that adrenaline to wear off? I mean, how many rounds before you start really feeling the wear and tear? Or maybe that's after maybe a hard buck off in the first round. But does adrenaline get you going?
Oh, it does, for sure. I don't think there'll ever be a time I nod my head in the Thomas and Mack where the adrenaline and all the juices aren't flowing. It's just the atmosphere in there is pretty hard to even explain to somebody that's not right in the midst of it. So yeah, the adrenaline's never going to be a question. It does, in a sport that can be so hard on your body, it does make it a lot more fun. The more healthy that you are, but yeah, shoot, I mean, there's no place like the NFR, really.
What you got some guy named Trey Kimzey in the shoots this year as well. I mean, obviously he's got to take care of his own thing, but do you pull his rope and help him get prepared, or I guess it just matters on where you're at on the day sheet. But does that add a little bit more impact to you in terms of just being able to realize how lucky you and your brother and just the family is?
Yes and no. I think it's amazing, that two brothers made it the same year. It's a feat that's not accomplished very often, and I'm super proud of my little brother. And I mean, I couldn't be more proud of him, honestly. Especially, seeing his fight and his grind through the whole year it was pretty special for sure. But as far as it affecting my competition, at the end of the day, I've got to take care of my job, and whether my brother's right there or he's at home, that doesn't really affect my competition. So it's kind of a two-edged answer for sure, just because it is. I mean, it's so cool that both of us are there. I mean, I can't even put into words what that means to me. But at the end of the day, like I said, my job's still to ride a 2,000-pound bull, and that's what I have to focus on.
You say that so matter-of-factly, like you talk about that the same way I talk about going to get the mail every day. But how about injuries? I'm not sure how much R&R you've had over the last couple of months. I got to imagine you got on some practice bulls, but injuries or bumps and bruises from September 30th compared to bumps and bruises today. How are you feeling?
Oh, it's night and day for sure. I actually suffered some separated ribs in Kennewick, Washington this year, and I battled with them all the way from the end of August until Pendleton, middle of September. And finally, I just had to go home. They were hurting too bad, and I went home, healed them up, and I didn't get on any bulls until I made the Canadian finals this year as well, and that was the first week in November. So I was off for, I don't know, I guess probably 3 weeks while I wasn't doing hardly anything, just healing my ribs, and that was really good though. It just kind of, everybody needs to press the reset button at some point, and that was the time I got to, so it was good for me for sure.
You talk about Kennewick, and I was there for that Saturday night short round at Kennewick, and I remember that was I don't know if you remember it, but that was a very difficult buck off. I could probably say other inappropriate words, but do you remember much about that night? I mean, that was to the point where we're here in Ellensburg, and I was like, man, we might not see him. But was it? Were you able to recover from that relatively quickly?
Yeah, I was able to make a full recovery. It took me a while. I mean, for those that weren't there, yeah, I was jerked down and unceremoniously bucked off, I guess you could say. I got knocked out, and that's actually when that same night was when I separated my ribs and fractured a couple of them. And it just it took a while to heal them up, but I made good on the few rodeos I chose to compete at after Kennewick, and kind of nursed them through, and now they're back at 100%. So it's all good.
So I promised you I'd keep it, short and sweet. So let me ask you a couple of quick ones. Any certain, obviously gold buckle is the goal, but beyond that, is there a certain money amount that you want to win? I mean, there's just so much money to win day to day, and in that average. Do you make goals like that, or is it just mostly to stay competitive in the average, or mostly go around money? How do you look at that?
Yeah, most of my goals are a lot more tangible and something that I can really monitor closely. Because on any given night, an 87.5 could win first place or last place. So, I try to make my goals more percentage based, and at the end of the day, I'm just trying to come out here and stay on every single one of my bulls, and if I do that, I'm pretty confident that I'll walk away with the gold buckle, and that's what I want. So.
Well, that sounds good to me, Sage. Well, like I said, I appreciate you calling in. You got a lot of fans up here in Ellensburg. My daughters would be upset if I didn't say good luck from them. You spent some time with them after the Ellensburg short round, and I think they have your picture as their screensaver on their phone. So my daughters are saying hello to you from Ellensburg. But good luck this week. Stay healthy, and we'll stay in touch.
Well, tell him hi as well. I dang sure appreciate it. Good talking to you, John.
Thanks, Sage. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Well, what a fun interview that was with Sage Kimzey. John, who do we got next?
We got Tyson Durfey. Tyson, he is a 12-time NFR qualifier, and he won it all in 2016. Tyson won. I've known him for years. We started getting together over the phone and interviews before he even made the NFR, and it's just been nice to see his progression. But 12 times to the NFR, world champion in 2016. He'll, depending on what kind of NFR he has here this week, he'll cross $2 million in earnings either this year or at the beginning of next season. So Tyson's got a lot going on beyond rodeo too, which he'll tell us about.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. He was a real fun interview, and I look forward to hopefully meeting him.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Well, here he is, Tyson Durfey.
Well, welcome back, Kittitas Valley Sports Talk fans. We are back here in the studio. John Goodat with Eric Country Sorensen here on the mic. We've got Tyson Durfey, who was called in. He's in his truck getting ready for Tuesday night's back number presentation. Tyson, very, very busy day for you. I appreciate you taking a couple of minutes with us.
You bet. Glad to do it. Love my Ellensburg, Washington native there.
Well,
many people don't know. I lived in Washington for 8 years, so we got to know each other pretty well.
Cheney, right?
Colbert, Cheney area, if I remember correctly?
Essentially Spokane. Colbert, little north of Spokane, but yeah.
That's God's country out there, and so I know it's a little bit of a homecoming, and when you get here to the Northwest Run, and so you got a bunch of Ellensburg fans here rooting for you this week, and
heck yeah.
But it's NFR time, an incredibly busy time. I mean, first things first. I mean, obviously you're no stranger to the Thomas and Mack, but does it ever get old on that grand entry or the first couple of rounds of adrenaline? I mean, what is that like year after year?
Yeah, the national finals is unlike any other rodeo. Just the presence of it all, the history of it all, the fans, the energy. Like, there's just so much about it. It'd be like walking into the Super Bowl for the first time. I mean, it's unlike any other rodeo, and even from a spectator standpoint. I mean, the fans there are just unbelievable. They bring like 10 times the energy they bring at most normal rodeos, and the people that are there as fans, are like diehard fans. They know the sport in and out. They know the guys. They know what they've done. They know the stats. So it's really an awesome rodeo, and it never, ever, ever gets old.
So that actually leads me into the perfect next question of, when you have fans that are so diehard and they might know your stats better than you. So I'm sure you meet a lot of people. You got a lot of meet and greets and sponsorship obligations and stuff like that. So it's almost like, can you make friends from all over the country, whether they're from California or Texas or Dakotas or anything like that? I mean, you got fans that want to see and talk to you probably every day.
Yeah, it's always neat when, while I'm out at the national finals, fun fact, I'll do about 20 autograph signings. And most of those, there's a couple of them that are 2 hours, but most of them are 1 hour. I also have about 20 sponsor dinners and lunches and stuff. And so a lot of people may not know it, but this is our one time a year to really network and get to meet new people and new sponsors. And, they come from all over. They come from, California to New York to, there's some people I sign autographs for every year, and they're from England. They fly over from England just to watch the rodeo and do the shopping. So there's Australians, met people from Switzerland. They just come from all over the world, really. It's a cool experience.
So you talk about networking, and don't get me wrong, I'm going to want to talk about your horse, and I'm going to want to talk about go-rounds here and the calves that you ran in the practice session yesterday. But you talk about networking, and I know you've got your hands, and you and your wife and your family, you have your hands in other different types of businesses, and I see you kind of with your motivation marketing that you're doing, and you're all over the place. So, I mean, is it almost like you're going 24/7, whether it's rodeo or your other businesses that you guys are doing?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. We have one life on this earth, and if your life isn't making somebody else's life better, then you're doing something wrong. If you're just trying to serve me, what can I do all the time? It's a recipe for disaster. So I stay super busy, whether it's our businesses or charities that I support, or public speaking, or my mentorship programs that I do. I stay super busy. And the reason I do that is because, I'm not the kind of guy that can just stand around. It's like the more I live, the more I want to give and the more I want to do. And I just, I have my days scheduled out. I have, out here at the finals, literally my days are scheduled out into 30-minute blocks. Some days are 15-minute blocks. And I know exactly what I'm going to be doing next Friday at 2 p.m., on my mind, I may not know it, but all I have to do is look back at the schedule, and that's just the way I operate. And that's the way I operate, and mostly, on my day-to-day life, when it's not at the national finals, I operate in blocks like that. And it just keeps me super focused and allows me to do the most with my time.
I get it.
Tyson, Eric here, and I follow you on all your social media, and I've listened to some interviews you give, and your mental side of the rodeo stuff, and I'm a high school baseball coach, and I've actually used you in team meetings for examples, and I just wanted to ask you a question about, how important, I mean, this is a 10 days in a row, it's a grind, it's a lot of fun, a lot going on, but how important is your mental side, your mental approach to being, a calf roper going in these next 10 days? And how important is that? And what's the most helpful tool you use to make sure you're ready to go each night?
Yeah, one of the things I teach in my mentorship program is you don't compete blank. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is you have to train for every single scenario that can possibly happen. It's like in baseball, right? If you practice hitting and you only practice hitting a 50-mile-an-hour ball right down the middle of the plate, you're going to crank that sucker out of the. Well, what happens if somebody throws you a curveball? Mm-hmm. You haven't trained for it. You haven't prepared for it. So chances are you're not going to hit it very well. And for me, when I train and when I prepare, I've mentally prepared. I spent like 3 hours today just visualizing pretty much anything and everything that could happen. So I'm mentally prepared for if I go the first 3 rounds and don't win anything, how do I handle my mind? I'm prepared for winning the first round as well. So to me, when a guy that is at the level that I'm at, and they're at the national finals, it's all mental. How well do you handle the ups and the downs? Because there's going to be both of them in Las Vegas. I can promise you that.
I know that you posted a video last year after, I can't remember which round, and it was about how hard are you going to get hit and how low can things go, but how you react and how you get back up. Yeah,
I'm a firm believer in it. I mean, I think people a lot of times underestimate how tough it is. Mm-hmm. Like you're a little kid, you dream about doing these amazing things, like for me, I dreamt about back in the box in the 10th go around to win a world championship and have to produce an amazing result to get there. And it's pretty cool because I envisioned that literally thousands of times as a little kid. But the truth of the matter is I was in that situation twice before it failed. Mm-hmm. And it was not until my third time in that situation that I actually produced and won a world title. So, if you want to be in professional sports or business or parenting or really anything, you got to be prepared to get hit because it's going to happen on a daily basis. It's not the hit that defines you. It's what you do with the hit that defines you. Do you get up and keep rolling, put a smile on your face, or do you get knocked down and just be sad? The truth is, if you can get up and put a smile on your face, even if your lips a little bloody, then you're probably going to get over it a lot faster and be ready to win.
Well, let me take that and segue into a smile on your face, where you're smiling after, I believe you had a practice session or running the calves yesterday. Did the calves make you smile? What can you and the 14 other calf ropers expect here in the first couple of rounds?
We were talking to, it was me and Haven Nedgen. And Haven's a rookie this year, but he's sitting second in the world. He's a phenomenal young talent. And we were talking about, he was asking me about the calves and how they compared to years before. And, this is my 12th trip out here. So I might be the most senior guy, or close to it out here now. And I told him, I said, this set is the best set I've seen in my whole career out here other than maybe 2013. And a funny thing he said, yeah, I just talked to Shane Hanchy, and that's exactly what Shane Hanchy had said. And I think Shane's been out maybe 10 times. So I think we're all on the same page. They're an awesome set of calves. They've done a great job with them.
So let's talk about that. I mean, compare this pen to 2013. That was 6 years ago, and you still remember, maybe not the specifics, but what made that so good that you can still remember it 6 years ago? Was it just a right size, an athleticism, or a certain breed? I mean, what was it that makes the pens good?
It really depends on, the mind of a calf. And another thing I teach in my mentorship program is the psychology of a calf. Are they super mean? Do they try to run over you and kick you, or are they docile? Most of the time, it doesn't have anything to do with size. It's most of the time to do with the attitude of a calf. And it's just weird, all the stars aligned in 13, and there is, some rounds that I was like 7-3. I think I was like 7-3, 3 rounds in a row and won like 4th, 5th, and 6th place.
Wow.
And 7-3, for a calf roping fan, that's a heck of a run. There were just so many good calves. Typically when you go to the arena, there's, say 15 calves in a pen. There's 1 or 2that you can win the go round on, which means they just run the right pattern. They don't try to kick. They're super snappy. And then there's, maybe 5 or 6 that are placeable type calves. But I really believe, like in 2013, this year, there is 12 out of 15 that you can win money on, which is just a huge opportunity because it boils down to who ropes better, not who draws better.
Talk to me about, you're going to talk about roping and stuff like that, but that can't be done without your horsepower. What kind of, did you bring multiple horses, or do you have a game plan there?
Yeah, so I brought 2 horses out. I'm riding Mitch, hashtag Money Mitch on Instagram is what everybody calls him.
That's right.
And I'll just accept that nickname because I think it's a great one. I didn't come up with it. One of my fans did, so that's cool. But I'm riding Mitch. I rode him last year at the finals. I won a round on him, placed in a few other rounds. He was really green last year. And I'm riding him again this year, and I'm telling you, I'm super confident because he feels unbelievable right now.
So that actually, I want to respect your time, Tyson, and so we'll let you get going here in a second. But that actually brings up a point. You talk about, a fan brought up that the Money Mitch hashtag, and I remember you and I talking behind the rope and shoots. I think it was Ellensburg 2018, and you were talking about how great social media is to just like interact with people that you might never meet face to face, but you really truly get to know people. And so do you have to back off on that a little bit during the NFR because it's so busy and you want to stay focused, or do you still find yourself interacting, to a certain degree these next 2 weeks?
Yeah, I still respond as much as possible. It's my schedule is dialed in, and there's only so much time I can use to respond to messages. But on an average day out here, I'll probably respond to 50 messages on Instagram and Facebook. At times they get so full that I can't respond to all of them. But I really try to, I really try to respond to everybody that I can. Like I said, it gets super busy, but at the end of the day, it's like, if somebody says hi to you on the street, are you just going to walk by them and not say hi back? You know what I mean? Like
right.
In human interaction, you would never do that. And if you did that, you're just considered kind of arrogant. And that's kind of how I feel like the message is. Somebody takes time out of their day to send me a message on Instagram. At least I'm going to do is say thank you and send it back, or a thumbs up and send it back. I mean, I'll have time to write a whole book back to them, but it's just so easy to record a 10-second voice memo and say, hey, thanks for the message. I really appreciate it. Bam. And then you just leave it. The person feels so much better about the interaction,
Right.
And that's really the way I look at it. I would never walk by somebody and not give them the time of day. I'll at least give them a smile and say hi.
Right.
And that's kind of how I feel how social media should be treated,
Well, Tyson, I really appreciate the time and parting words for you. One, good luck and stay healthy and hopefully the family gets to enjoy you and getting a couple of go-round wins as well. And I'll leave you with this. You talk about the interaction with your fans. I believe it was Circuit Finals 2016. The last year the Circuit Finals were in November at least. My daughter still talks about meeting you, officially meeting you, and she still has the picture you and her took. And I think 2016 was a pretty decent year for you. And so your fans do appreciate you. I appreciate you calling in and enjoy the back number presentation tonight.
All right, brother. Thanks, Sean. Nice visiting with you. And Eric, hey, let us get together one of these days. I'd like to meet you as well. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you all have a great day.
Wow. If you listen to this episode aren't jacked up for tonight's performance, this is getting released on the opening ceremony day, the first day of the NFR. Guys, John, how much fun was those 3 interviews?
Honestly, you can get jacked up by the NFR by listening to those guys, but they're just motivated in all walks of life, whether it includes a rope or a bull or some sort of equine animal.
Yeah.
They're just motivated, determined, driven people. And that, if that doesn't get the blood going, then you got to check your pulse.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you guys for joining us on our PRCA episode brought to you by McGregor Company, our new sponsor for the rodeo segment we have once a month. And thank you again for listening. Please share this. I believe this will be kind of a big one. I think there's some big name people in this interview.
Big name people will have a lot of reach outside of the Valley as well, but obviously a Valley tie to it. And all I can say is listen to us, share it, and you know what? Talk to us on social media as well. You got some things you saw while you're at the NFR or while you're watching the NFR.
Right.
Post some questions. Post some recaps on what you thought.
Well, enjoy the next 10 days. Hold on. Don't get bucked off your couch. And
that's right.
Go get them.
Sounds good.